Welcome to Women of Victory podcast. We are so excited that you are joining us today. I'm Pastor Di, and we have just been talking about all kinds of great things lately. And I have a great friend, Jen Appleton, with me today, and she has just some wonderful things to share. She has so much going on at her house all the time. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us why you have so much going on at your house.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's great to be here. You're probably referring to all of my children. So I have 7 kids.
7.
Yes,
Okay.
I really had to think about that for a second. Okay, I do have 7 kids. And right now I can remember all of their ages because for 3 weeks of the year, and we're in one of those weeks, they are all 2 years apart.
Oh,
So this is
wow.
that time where I can get them all right. So
Okay. Well, it's a good time to quiz you.
this is a great time.
Yes.
So I have a 6-year-old, an 8, a 10, a 12, a 14, a 16, and an 18-year-old. So all that will change in a couple weeks. But right now, that's where their birthdays are. So
6.
yeah.
So 6 puts
7 kiddos.
first grade, right?
Yep. So I have a first grader, 3rd grader, 5th grader, 7th grader, 9th grader, and then my 16-year-old, who's almost 17, will be a 12th grader this year, and then my 18-year-old graduated last year.
Wow.
So,
Okay. And so what's your 18-year-old doing? Is going to college, staying at home? You
So
still got everybody home?
Yes, I do still have everyone home. He is going to work for this year. He wasn't quite sure what he was going to do, which is really fine with all of us. But he has an idea now. The program he wants to get into, he's looking to start next fall, like 2025. So this will be like a work year for him, and then he'll head into what he's thinking about. And I won't say that because it could change.
It could change.
It could change, but he's got a good goal and a vision right now, so we're excited.
That's good. I love that. I think that for society to expect you to be 18 and know what you're going to do with your rest of your life is a lot.
It is. It is. I didn't know.
Oh my goodness.
And what I thought didn't happen.
Oh, what did you think?
Well, maybe it kind of happened. I thought I was going to be a teacher.
Okay.
Well, that's funny, isn't it? So I actually, and I was going to talk about this at one point here, but I ended up going to Bible school right after college, and then I was going to come back to Michigan and maybe go to Michigan State and become a teacher. That was my plan.
Okay.
But after Bible school, instead, I did some mission trips, but then I spent an extended amount of time in Mexico.
Mexico.
Met my husband.
In Mexico.
In Mexico.
And is he from Mexico?
Massachusetts.
He's from, all right.
He's not Mexican. So he did meet him in Mexico. And after 3 years there, we got engaged, came back, got married, and I never went back to school for my teaching degree, but he did, and he's a teacher.
He's a teacher.
So full circle
and then
moments.
Is he a teacher at public school?
Yep. He's a public school teacher. I believe this is his 19th year, maybe.
Wow.
I think. I'm pretty close.
Okay.
18, 19.
I'm asking a lot of numbers from
You are. So I think this is his 18th year.
And then how long have you guys been married?
Coming up on 20 years.
Okay. See, another number.
Another number.
You didn't know I was going to have you do math.
I didn't. I needed to write all this down. Yeah, coming up on 20 years in February.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
So I said a lot going on at your house.
Yeah.
Right. And something that I love that we've kind of started to talk a little bit about here. Your husband, Matt, he's a public school teacher, right? You thought you were going to be a teacher, but yet you are a teacher.
I am in a way I didn't think I would ever be. So I am a homeschool mom.
And how long have you done that?
I am going into my 14th year.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So I started when my oldest was in kindergarten, and we just never stopped.
Okay.
So we just graduated our first as a homeschooler, and that was really exciting. Huge accomplishment, like for all of us, I think, because it's just a scary thing. You just don't know. Will it work? Can you do it? Is this legal? Like all of these things, and you can do it, and it is legal, and it will work.
And it
So,
did work,
and we
right?
did,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So that was
You've
exciting.
got one checked off.
One done.
Six to go. Why was I
to
saying
go.
3?
I don't know.
I'm not going to speak that. 6 to go.
Yeah, but one done.
I love that. So
Yeah.
what started that journey for you? I think especially in the season that we're in now of our world, too. We have it that those doors have been opened just drastically for a lot of families that maybe didn't ever plan on that or didn't ever think about that. When we went through COVID a few years ago and everybody was home.
Yes.
And so that was intense for any of us
Yeah.
and stuff. But there were parents and families and grandparents and siblings that were like helping each other out with schoolwork. And also the internet has opened the door to a lot of online learning. And so I believe now, and there's probably more families that homeschool than ever before. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, for sure. I don't have statistics on that.
I don't either,
But
and I
for
thought we
sure,
should
it
have,
has
yeah.
exploded since COVID. It really has. But even before COVID, it's naturally grown over the past, goodness, 30, 40 years even. So 14 years ago, when we started homeschooling, I knew a handful of people.
Yeah.
There were a few. But I was not, like, my husband was more gung-ho about it than I was.
Okay.
He was like, we should definitely do this. And I was like, my kids are going to be weird. And I don't want to do this. That was just kind of my initial thought process, not really thinking about much else except the only people I knew that were homeschooled when I went to public school. Well, I only knew like one kid and I didn't really know him. And so he would come to our band class and I just thought he was weird, but that's just, I didn't even know him. Right. So that was really not good of me to think that. But
I think
in my
that's
mind,
true, though.
as a public school student, I'm like, who is this kid? That's weird that he's homeschooled. Does he not have any other friends? So these are some of the, maybe misconceptions we have about homeschooling.
I remember thinking that
Yeah.
too with ours. We have 3 kids and they would have friends and then I'm like, well, why are they homeschooled or what's going on with them or what's wrong?
What's wrong?
And, feeling like, oh, well, I could never do that. And all of those things. And then they're like, well, they're weird. I go, why are they weird? Isn't that funny? We're quick to label someone and something if it's not like us or it's not the plan or our choice that or the purpose that God has placed us in. And so it's easy to go, okay, well, that's weird because that's not. I mean, we see that with everything now. You don't agree with my way of thinking. Well, your way of thinking is wrong. Well, that's not true. God has so many different journeys and roads for all of us that it's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. So for my husband and myself, as we talked and prayed about it, about what to do with our son, something that we had met a good friend in Mexico. He wasn't Mexican either, but he worked with us as part of our team, and he had been homeschooled. And he and my husband were actually roommates for a while, so they chatted, I guess, a lot about homeschooling, even more than I knew.
Yeah.
But he said that as a homeschooler, his parents were his primary influencers over his life growing up.
Wow.
And that really stuck with my husband and it stuck with me. So when we got married and talked about it, that was one of the probably one of the first reasons that we were like, yeah, let's try this out, because we wanted to remain the primary influencer in our 5-year-old son's life as he was getting ready to go into kindergarten. Right. So you kind of, you have, these little kids and it's like, okay, well, when you're first starting off, you're everything to them. You are their primary influencer. And just as, if we would have sent him to school, which is fine if that's where the Lord leads you, we would have quickly kind of like become maybe less to his friends, his teachers, the people that he's spending a lot of time with.
Yeah.
Instead, we chose to just kind of keep him at home for that time, for that influence, for that we're still pouring everything we can into him in a really safe place and in a safe environment. And so that was like one of the main reasons
Yeah.
that we started. And we've seen that. We've just seen the fruits of that through all of our kids
Yeah.
through this whole journey. It doesn't mean it's been an easy journey,
Right.
but like all of our kids, we have good relationships with. They'll talk to us about things, and I think that goes back to just staying in their lives, like not sometimes not letting them have outside influences that maybe we don't want them to have, and we're just able to really control that a little bit more when you homeschool. You just have a little bit more say in what they do and who they hang with.
Yeah.
Like you get to make choices more about where you want them to be, who you want them to hang with, what activities you want them to do, what books you want them to read, what you want them to learn in school versus just what is laid in front of them. So,
do you find that, so because you're on 7 with that, so your youngest, you've started with them too, right? Because first grade. So
our young,
that you've been able to like kind of adjust it, alter it to each child's personality, which is something we don't necessarily see in mainstream school. Is that something, or have you like stuck to this is what we do every year with everyone, or what does that look like?
I would say yes and no.
Okay.
We kind of do the similar things kind of through elementary and middle school. I kind of have a good groove now, what things we like to use. Every year is different. Every year you adjust. Every year we have a new kid coming in, a new grade to do. And so there's a lot of it's not like you make a plan and just do it every year. Unfortunately, I would love that, but you have to be fluid with it all. But yeah, we can definitely cater to like those kids that need more movement or just aren't getting like a certain subject down. We can try something else with them. It's really easy to see where they're lacking when you're home with them all day. And I know that there are wonderful teachers out there, and I had some, and I know there's wonderful ones. But no matter how wonderful that teacher is, like you're gonna love your child more than that teacher does.
Yep.
You just will, and you'll be more invested in your own child to want to see them succeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, being at home, especially, I have a lot of rambunctious children. Most people do, really, but it just gave them room to be rambunctious. I was just remembering how, like, one of my children, like, just growing up, like, he could not sit on the couch, like, unless he was, like, upside down every single time, and it would drive me nuts. And I was like, can you even hear what I'm saying? I'm trying to do this, like, really nice read aloud, and, like, can you just listen? And they're just, like, upside down, kicking their feet on the window, and they're listening, and they're understanding and retaining, but it's driving me nuts. I'm like, what are you doing? But it's what they needed.
Yeah.
And so it's nice
To
that they
help in
can have that
process.
space. Yes.
Oh,
So definite perk there of homeschool, just to being able to kind of cater to those things.
right, in that way.
Yeah.
So, so your house is pretty quiet and organized? Is that what you were just saying?
Yes. Yes, it is. You should just stop by sometime. In the middle of the day. No, and no, it's not. I kind of joke that my love language is like a quiet and clean house. And it's
I thought you were
funny
going to say your love
because
language is chaos.
say no, it's not. But that's what the Lord gave me. And so it's like I think sometimes the Lord pushes us out of our comfort zones.
Oh, yeah.
So no, it's very lively at our home. But in the midst of that, we have routines and things in place. We generally have general things that we do every morning. It's kind of more than a schedule. It's like a rhythm of the day. So kind of start the same, kind of move to the table the same time, kind of do independent subjects at the same time, and then every afternoon when my kids were little, I was like a big nap Nazi. I was like, you will have a nap because I need you to have a nap.
Yep.
But then as they started growing out of that, and they do get to this age where they just don't nap anymore, I have reached that age. We still have quiet time like every single school day. And my kids, they don't even have all their own bedrooms. They share bedrooms because we have 7 children, and that would be a really large house. We have like a 30-minute at least, sometimes it's an hour, depending on how I'm feeling, where they go to their beds and they lay in their beds and they read books. And it's just, my favorite time of the day for a lot of reasons. I do love to read, but it's like a peace and a calm, and it's for everyone. It's for the kids that are kind of like tapped out. Some of them aren't, some of them are. So we all need that.
Yeah.
So we get these like moments of kind of calm in the middle of like a busy day. So you can work those in when you need them.
That's
however you need.
Wonderful. I had a job for a lot of years in the school district, and so I'd have summer off, and we were big librarians.
Oh, yes.
And but we did that when they kind of aged out of nap. I felt like I hadn't aged out of nap.
Yeah.
I still haven't.
Yeah.
And we would, everybody had a book,
Yes.
and you just had to have 30 minutes or an hour. And I've watched all my children are adults now, and they are readers.
Yes.
That's still very, very important to them. And I'm watching them read with their children, and even that you can stay in your bed. You had a book.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yes.
confirmation for
Yes.
anyone that's struggling with nap time out there.
Yeah, like it's okay to say you don't have to sleep, but you need to stay in your room or in your bed and do something quiet. That's okay to say
It's
as a mom.
okay. And it's
Give
good
you
to have that
permission.
reset, because moms need it.
Moms need it. And some of your kids need it too. I think even, I have a few kids that are more introverted and some that are more extroverted, and they don't know they need it, but they need it. And you can tell. So it kind of gives everyone that space.
Yeah, I think that's good. So you've been doing this a while, right, with a house full. And I think about, we were talking about when we first started it, okay, well, is homeschool weird? Well, we know that it's taken a new view. But we talked about having some of the misconceptions that you think that some of the people just in general we think is truth and it's not. Can you debunk a couple of those for me?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay.
I would love to. Yeah. So the first, I was just trying to think of common misconceptions that people bring to us or questions that we get all the time. And I had a couple in my mind, and then I was with a couple friends at the beach the other week, and I even asked them, I was like, what would you say are like the initial misconceptions? And they said the exact same ones. Like there's like they come up over and over again. And I get them, I understand them. But the first misconception is that your child won't be socialized. So that's
because you're
the
keeping
big
them
one.
home under
This is
lock
the big
and key,
one.
not letting them
What
socialize
about-
with anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. What about socialization?
Yeah.
Like is the biggest question. And I think that's twofold. One, the first part of that is maybe, like I said, like maybe like 40 years ago, maybe that was like something that you had to think about.
Right.
Those people were homeschooling, like maybe it wasn't as free then. They were seriously worried about like the laws of the land. But there's no lack of socialization options for your children anymore in homeschool. There's too many. There's so many things you can do as a homeschooler now. You can be as busy as you want to be. So there's clubs, there's classes they can take with other kids, there's sports, there's dance, there's just everything. So everything's available now. Like that's the first point. The second point when that comes up is, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, but thinking about, well, who are you wanting your child to be socialized with? If you really want them to be in a classroom setting with like kids all of their own age, and you don't really know the backgrounds, the values, the worldviews of any of these kids or their families, like that's a different type of socialization pool that you can choose. Like, and so like when I talked about being the primary influencers, in our children's lives, like that was really important to us. Like, okay, well, they're going to be influenced by someone.
Yeah.
Who are they going to be influenced by? And Proverbs 13:20 says, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Now, I'm not saying that your kid is only going to have fools as companions, but I will say that we probably all know kids in a classroom that maybe aren't the best influence on your child.
Right.
And you can only do so much in that setting to, avoid that or to keep them away from
Right.
each other. They're going to be influenced by their peers. They're going to be influenced also by whatever the school curriculum is being taught. And I don't even think that used to be as big of a deal, but it kind of is a big deal now as a Christian.
Yep.
So like you need to be very aware of what's being taught.
Well, and sometimes our kids even fall into those moments of they don't realize it, right?
Yeah.
And this is an
Oh, yeah.
opportunity to protect them from that. Or you're, all of a sudden a product of what's around you.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting in trouble or making choices based on what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Especially at younger ages.
Yeah.
And stuff, they're mimicking it. And then even in older ages, you want to fit in or you want to be this person's friend or you want to, and so being able to kind of keep that in check more so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you just, if you're prayerfully considering homeschool, and if you're not, that's fine. Like, I'm not here to like judge or convict anyone.
Yeah.
Like I am a people pleaser. I do not like to rock the boat, but I do like to talk about homeschool. So I'm not here to convict anyone, but like if you're thinking about it and you're worried about socialization, I would really encourage you to think about how do you want them to be socialized? What is really your end goal there? And if it's to fit in kind of with culture and the popular things and entertainment, then okay, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's something different. Maybe it's, like Philippians 4:8 tells us, like, whatever's true and noble and right and good and pure and praiseworthy and lovely. And think about these things. And so within our homeschooling curriculum, like we choose curriculum that is biblically sound, that has a biblical worldview. Like we can teach that. And then we also talk about other viewpoints. And so my kids can know what's out there.
Right.
But we're teaching them like what is true and then kind of what other people are learning and like why that might not be true and so it's just it just gives you a way to teach like culture in like a safe place. Like we're not trying to not let our kids know what's going on out there. Like they know, they're going to know.
Oh yeah.
But we can give it the narrative that we want, like the truth that we want, like the biblical truth.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it. We can talk about like, I don't know, like the hot topics of the day, all the things going on in the schools, like they hear about it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So and it just gives us a safe place to.
That's my favorite verse.
To bring that up.
The whatever verse. I love that. I say I'm going to get a tattoo that says whatever,
just whatever.
Just whatever. Because to be able to come from the stance of, I want it to be the truth. I want it to be positive. I want it to be pure. I want it to be lovely.
Yeah.
I want to look at events with a half full, right? Or with God lenses and go, okay, how is God seeing this person that's hurting or this tragedy that happened or what's going on in other countries and stuff, to be able to look at it in that truth and for your kids to learn that instead of maybe an untruth. I mean, we hear something so much, especially growing up, and I think all of us can attest to this as adults, that there were things I can think in my life that became my truth that weren't true.
Yeah.
And until I became an adult and weighed that against God's word, against the truth, I didn't know that.
Right.
And so to have that opportunity to have those discussions and that direction as far as current events, but going, okay, let's look at it through God's lens. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And the one other thing I was thinking is the other people that we really wanted our kids to socialize with were their siblings. And that was another big reason we wanted to give this a go, because it has connected them, I think, more than it would have. They
Oh,
don't
definitely.
spend all day away from each other. They have spent their whole lives with each other. And as challenging as that can be, because my kids do argue at times, like normal children,
Yeah.
um, like they know that they're each other's best friends, and this is who you spend the day with,
Mm-hmm.
like it or not.
Oh.
And so it just gives us those opportunities to work through those character issues with them all day long,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is really what our heart for our kids, to like
Right.
teach them and train them up in the ways of the Lord and in character,
Yeah.
more than for them to be maybe like an A+ student in
Right.
all the school subjects.
And to
So
know the value of family
yes, yeah.
in
So
that way. And,
yeah.
I hadn't thought about that until you said that, but how
Mhm.
our children were in public school
Mhm.
and I was in
Mhm.
public school at the same time with them. And so
Yeah.
that was nice, gave me an opportunity to know the
Yeah.
kids and the
Yeah.
teachers and the parents and stuff. But when our daughter was a senior, our oldest daughter, our youngest daughter was a freshman. So they were
Yeah.
like and I'm like, oh, they're going to be in a building at the same time. They're going to both be in the
Right.
same sport. And well, none of that happened,
Yeah.
right? It was her senior year. And so
Yeah.
she's doing this and
Busy.
that. And, freshman year, you have all these things you're trying to manage and sports and stuff. So it didn't really play out
Yeah.
that way. Now I look at them now as adults.
Yeah.
I think they talk every day,
Yeah.
and they're very close. But they didn't have that in their
Mhm.
teen years, like the opportunity that your kids have
Mhm.
to know that they're there for each other in that way.
Yeah.
So, oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I
It has
love
been
that.
fun to watch them. It's fun
Yeah.
to know that like my 18-year-old will take the 6-year-old, to the gas station, and
Mhm.
they'll buy a treat together or something. And
Mhm.
I know they're not always gonna be around. They're gonna start moving away, but I'm glad they had like that foundation,
Mhm.
kind of know each other. So yeah,
Mm.
that's another socialization aspect that we think is positive, for the kiddos. So
That's
yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you had said that your husband's a school teacher,
Mm-hmm.
right? You wanted to be a school teacher,
Yeah.
but you didn't do that. So, did you feel like you were qualified? We had talked about this earlier. I had moments where I thought I could never do that.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be qualified, but then yet I went in the public school and taught other people's children. So,
Yeah.
how did
Yeah.
that play out for you?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely another misconception. I'm not qualified to teach my child. And once again, I understand that. But, I was thinking about this, and I thought, when we first have maybe our first little baby,
Mm-hmm.
we don't really know anything. Like, right? Like, we don't know how to change its diaper. We don't know how to make it stop crying.
Yeah.
We don't know how to feed it right, or what to feed it, or when to feed it,
Yeah.
And we don't just take the little baby and like step away and say, well, I'll come back for you in a while. I
Right.
just don't
I'm
know
going
what
to
to do.
YouTube it.
Right. So what do we do though? We figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
We ask people.
Mm-hmm.
We ask like our friends that maybe already have a kid. We ask maybe our parents that have raised us. We read good books. We listen to podcasts. We find like play groups, and like we just start talking and like gleaning information, and we become experts
Yeah.
in like our little children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another one, and we're like, oh, I know what to do with this, right?
Yeah.
Because we've walked through it, and we've learned. And I feel like homeschooling is a lot like that. Like you don't really know what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
when you decide. And people that are like unsure, they're like almost ready. I'm like, you just need to go ahead and do it. You won't know what you're doing, and that's okay. Just go for it. Because once you go for it, you start learning. That's when you learn. You have to like get in to the nitty-gritty, and you have to figure it out, because every homeschool is so different, because homeschool is not school at home, it is home school.
Mm-hmm.
And you're at home and you're living together and learning. But there's this living aspect that doesn't happen like in a school building, that happens at home. And so your family, you have to take into consideration your family, your home life, like the ages of your children. All these things affect your homeschool. So it's very personal to your family.
Mm-hmm.
And so you might start with what your best friend used, but then partway through you'll be like, that's not working, but let's try this other curriculum or this other, whatever program. And you just kind of start trying it out,
Mm-hmm.
and you listen to experts, and you find good people to talk to. and you find something that works for you and your kids, and that's how you learn, and you become an expert just by trial and error, really.
Right.
So yeah, so is there a qualification? No, I think God qualifies you when he gives you your children.
Absolutely. I say that all the time. God made you their mom and dad,
Yes.
right? And so he knew you were the perfect ones
Yes.
for them. And
Yes.
that goes across the board for everything.
Yes, it really does. Even homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. And I go to that verse all the time because I don't have all the answers,
Yeah.
but God does.
Yeah.
So it's just wonderful. Like, God is there with you, especially when you come into it, as a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this beautiful, beautiful picture. He's there. He's given you these children. He's put this in your heart. So he's not gonna just leave you.
Right.
He's there to guide you.
Yeah.
And then, like, practically, there's so many resources available. You don't have to know how to teach advanced chemistry to, like, get your kid through high school. Like, there's people that can do that for you. There's programs that can do that for you. It's really wonderful now.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many resources available. So
Yeah.
any of that fear, I would just say, lay that down, take it to the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
He will give you what you need. And then when those trickier subjects come up, there are tutors, there are online programs, there are co-ops, there are classes. There's a lot of resources available. So that I didn't teach every single subject to my children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't do that. I'm not.
Right.
I don't have enough hours in my day.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't need to. But I did need to just find the right path for them, the venue for them, the right program for them or whatever to be successful.
No, it does. How does Matt? How does your husband partner with you on this?
Yeah. So over the course of when we were having babies,
Mm-hmm.
he would step in and be a substitute teacher after every baby, and that was so fun. And it was just fun to see him with, like, he would have a baby strapped on his chest, like a teacher guide reading, so that was great. He loves to kind of jump in when he can, but now it's more like he has some actual a lot of knowledge in science, lots of degrees in that area, actually, so he could teach some sciences, but he doesn't. So I send a lot of math and science his way when there's harder questions, because we have that as a resource in our family. So
Yeah.
I'm like, let's ask your dad.
That's nice.
We have other resources too, but he's great for that. So yeah, definitely the higher level sciences he is really good at.
Now, do you find that, you're home all day with the kids, and so this is your job,
Yes,
essentially,
yes.
and stuff. Does that get lonely for you?
No, I do. I'm sure anybody that knows me is laughing. No. And maybe part of this is because I am very introverted.
Okay.
So so having people around me all day is not lonely. It's the opposite. It can be overwhelming to me. I don't mind being alone.
Did you find
fine.
yourself like craving some like relationships, though? Some female relationships, maybe, or something that kind of help you navigate it, or that kind of filled something. I don't want to put something there that's not there, but yeah.
Well, I think yes, but I think maybe. So when we started from the beginning, I have always been part of some type of group, like co-op.
Okay.
And I think that has always filled that need, because I knew that I needed it, and I knew that my children needed it. Needed friends. We needed to be social.
Need to be social. So we're back on
I
that.
think that maybe year 3 of starting, I don't know if we started year 1, but by our 3rd year of homeschooling, I think, I was just thinking about this. There was a group of 4 families. 3 of us lived like in the same neighborhood, and there was another family. I think we were like, okay, let's do this together. We all went to the same church. We all loved each other. We all had kids similar ages. We're like, let's just do this together. So we just made it up. This is what you do. You pioneer your way through. And we would get together once a week at each other's houses. We would have snacks. Somebody would do an art project. Somebody would do like a history thing. And it was so great. Someone would do a science thing. And it was so great because our kids had fun. We had our
Yep.
fellowship time. And that we did that for so many years. Yeah. So I have always had like a posse of homeschool mom friends. I'm going to say that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think through the years, it's like you need them more and less, and you have more time to spend together. There's always been like a core group. And yeah, they're definitely essential to the mental health, but also just like problem solving, bouncing
Right.
ideas off of each other. What do you use for this? What do you use for that?
And I think that's
Yeah.
encouraging for those that might be listening that are thinking, well, it's going to be lonely,
Yeah.
or I'm afraid to be home every day, all day,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I'm being called to do this. And to know that there are that's a resource too,
Yeah,
that
it is.
there's other people that want that as well,
Mm-hmm.
that you can come together with and encourage one another. I mean, that's biblical right there. We're supposed to have Barnabases in our life
Yes.
that come alongside of us and encourage us. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I do. Yeah. And they're my best friends, these homeschool moms. They really are. So proud homeschool mom. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had said this in the beginning, right? That your house is just calm and peaceful and
Yes.
organized all day long. I think that's one of the. I have one child that was very similar in personality to me, and I would feel like there were moments we'd sit down to do homework together, and I struggled helping them with their homework.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I couldn't do this all day if I can't even help them. We don't get mad at each other during homework.
Yes.
So does everybody just get along at your house?
Yes. No. Yes. So that comes right to our third misconception that, and a lot of people feel that way. They say, I could never homeschool my child. We're way too similar. We would fight all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. Like, I understand that. I kind of chuckle too at the same time, because these people that say this, I'm like, do you think that, like, what do you think happens at my house? Like, do you think it's like, I don't know, Mary Poppins? Like,
Library, nice and
all
quiet.
the time. Like, I'm like, children, please open your book to page 245 and do your math. And they just do it. Like, no. So I go back to, like, the Lord gave us our children and for a reason, and our specific children for a reason, and they are a blessing, right? Psalm 127:3. Behold, children are a blessing from the Lord, the fruit of the womb is his reward for us. And so when we, number one, see our children like as a blessing instead of like an inconvenience, I think that they sense that.
Yeah.
And we just start to view like the good in them versus the things that like are a challenge to us.
Yeah.
I also think that like those challenging children bring out a lot of things in us that God is trying to probably change in us and mold in us. Sometimes homeschooling is not about our children. It's about us. It's about what God is doing in us. And just like motherhood is very sanctifying,
Yes.
homeschooling is very sanctifying. There's opportunities, like multiple opportunities a day and even every hour to like go turn to the Lord again and say, Lord, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And because our flesh rises up, because it's hard. It's hard. But James 1, says, consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because it produces, the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. And so it's a trial, some of these things, these fleshly things that rise up in us, often through like our children can bring these out of us, I think.
Yep.
Like anger, impatience, selfishness. Those things are the things that we're supposed to put to death daily. And, not with our own power. Like we need the Holy Spirit to do this because it's so hard. But the Lord uses our children, I think, uses them in my life to be like, hey, you're not being very kind right now. Love is patient. Love is kind,
Yeah.
And I can look and say, oh, my children are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, but God will be like, hey, what are you doing? How are you treating them? Like, let's look at your heart for a second.
Yeah.
And it's very sanctifying. It's very
Challenging
humbling.
us to be good humans,
Yes.
right? You
Yes.
do that all the time
Yeah.
with us. Yeah.
And I think it's like sometimes easier to go out and meet a stranger and be kind to them than, when you're in the household living with people, living on top of people, it's sometimes we're the most unkind to those we love the most. And I don't know why, but it's just so sanctifying in that way. We're just, we're rubbing each other's, rough edges off, and the Lord can use it if we let him. Or I could say, no way, this kid I cannot teach, and I'm gonna I give up. And if God has called me to homeschool that child, and that is what my attitude is toward that child, and they feel it, I mean, they're gonna hang on to that for life.
Yeah.
So instead, just being like, all right, Lord, what do you want to teach me? What character are you trying to teach me? And what does my child need right now? It comes back to homeschooling is such a beautiful place to develop character. And we come back to that a lot too. This is character development. This is character training. This is the most important thing. If you love God and you love others, including those in your household, you're going to be a successful human, a successful adult. This is what we want.
Yes, a successful human. That's what we want for our children.
Yeah. And to us, it's not whatever the GPA is. It's how are you treating others, and how is your relationship with the Lord? And so that's what this is. It gives us these opportunities to teach them, to train them again and again and again and again. It's just a beautiful, venue for the discipleship that happens. And so I know, just as parents, we're always looking for those. We want to be discipling our children in a godly way. And so when you homeschool, you have a lot of extra time in your day to spend on that. And there's days that we do character development. Yeah. There's days where that is what we do all day long. There's days, especially when they're little, you feel like all you're doing is disciplining over and over and over and over and over. But it's you have the time to do that, to pour into them with love. And then you see the fruit of the labor, hopefully one day.
Yeah.
Maybe not that day, maybe not the next day, but through the course of these 18 years we have with them, we've definitely seen fruit, from babies up till that age.
Well,
so
thank you for being transparent, and that it's not just character building for the children, that this is something that God is showing you through that, and things that oh, Lord, what do I need to work on with us? Sometimes it's very easy for us to come down and, I remember, well, I'm your mom and I said so, that's why. Well, I never accepted an answer like that. Right? You're not going to. So what's God doing with me right now in this moment to grow my character, to soften my heart, to teach me to love others, or to love myself and care for myself? And that way, all of those things that we want them to see in us. Yeah. And so through us persevering and pushing into that, through that journey, you're doing that along with them. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. That's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
It's real.
Oh,
it's real.
So now, one more question. Yeah. Do you take the summers off? What do you do? Are you a year-round school person? I mean, you have that option, right? When you homeschool and stuff. Or are your days 9 to 5? Is what does that look like? Yeah. You kind of have the freedom to do what you want, and sometimes I feel like that would be harder for me, not staying organized, but going, oh, we're going to have a snow day. And the next thing you know, we'd have 5 snow days in a row and there's no snow, right?
Right.
So, how do you manage that a little bit? I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a fun question. Yeah, we definitely take summers off. I think we always did because my husband is in the public school system.
Mm-hmm.
We just always take those breaks
Mm-hmm.
because he would be home.
Yeah.
And so my kids always know what's happening at public schools.
Mm-hmm.
Like they get a Christmas break, they get a summer break, so
Yeah.
we just take those.
Okay. I love
And
that.
for me, by the time summer hits, I am ready
Mm-hmm.
to take a break. And so even all my good intentions of, oh, we're going to do a little math, a little reading, like we don't. We do some reading every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But we just take it. We just break.
Mm.
Everybody needs it.
Oh yeah.
So we take a nice, good summer break. We'll start back up again after Labor Day. Don't like to
Mhm.
start till after Labor Day, so
Mhm.
that's a wonderful thing that we can choose to do. We always take the first snow day also. Like
Mm.
if the schools get a snow day,
Mhm.
we can't take them all because it'd be like all winter.
Yeah.
So I try to give them the first snow day, and
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do things like that. And then as far as like a 9 to 5, I think we usually try to start our day around 9. It's like a good goal for us.
Mhm.
By the end of the school year, it's closer to 10 probably, just to be real there. And we usually knock off by about 3.
Okay.
Now, some of the kids are done way before then, but I have older kids now too. So that
Yeah.
changes through the years. So when they're little, you're done in an hour or two. As they get older, you add a little more time, So,
Right.
so it is, and it does take me longer to get to all the kids because there are so many. So with the independent things that I might need to work with them on. But yeah, that time frame helps me know like this is school hours and try to stay focused on that.
So kind of have a time
Yeah,
frame to
but
stay in.
yeah, but I have other mom friends I know that they homeschool in the evenings. They homeschool on the weekends. They do a lot of different things, and that's the beauty of it. They work it into their schedule.
Into their
and it works for
family
them.
schedule. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we had our middle child, my husband was on second shift. And so we worked her schedule around his job so he could see her.
Yeah.
And so, here we had little bitty baby 1-year-old, that I'm keeping up till 10 o'clock at night. So, daddy can put her to bed, and stuff. And it worked out because that's what our family needed.
Yeah.
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 So you just do what you can do. That's great though, to know that you have that flexibility with that. And still have snow days.
You do.
Okay.
Yes.
You still have snow days. All
We
right.
do. We have to have them.
That was when I started to work here. That was one thing I'm like, oh, I miss snow days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, my husband gets giddy.
Yeah.
He's watching the weather like a week in advance. I think it's coming.
It's coming.
The
It's
teachers
coming,
are all
that
chatting.
snow day.
It's funny. The teachers, I think, are funny.
Love those snow days
Yes.
just as much.
Yeah.
Well, I have learned so much. I appreciate this so much because there's just so many things that I think we know, but we don't until we have a real conversation with someone that's living it, that's doing it, and stuff. And I'm just, wow, I'm in awe of that. So thank you.
Yeah,
for this.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Could you pray for everybody that's listening that maybe might be considering homeschool, or even just us getting ready to go back into the school year, no matter where our children are, and stuff, for all of the moms. And, I do have another quick question that I thought about. What about, as far as like the resources and things like that? It's not just, we can't just assume it's moms, right? Like dads are involved too.
Yeah.
With that. I know you kind of touched on that a little bit with Matt kind of coming in and helping and things. So if there's dads out there that are thinking about, being the at-home schooling and helping with that, it kind of goes across the board as far as resources and things like that. Am I correct?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely families where the dad is the homeschooler. Yeah, and I think that's so fun.
Yeah.
And great for them.
Okay.
And sometimes they will teach. It's just whatever works for your family. I know dads that will like teach a certain subject all the time, and just depending on the time they have. Or, there definitely are homeschooling dads too.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to leave them out.
No,
either, so
and even the ones that maybe aren't actively, like supporting your wife and your family in that call is huge. Like, because there are times, there have been days, and I feel like it's changed as the kids have gotten older. Like when you just have a bunch of littles, that's a lot
It is a
for
lot.
anyone, for a
Mhm.
mom. Like there were days like Matt would come home and he would see me and he'd be like, I'll do dinner. Why don't you just go out for a minute? Just
Mhm.
just go. And
Mhm.
I would just leave. I'd just drive to wherever
Mhm.
and I would just sit, and he knew I needed that. And so
Yeah.
just supporting your wife even
Mhm.
in the call, because even if they're not schooling, they're a part of that call. Like it's a family call. I
Yeah.
really feel like if there's like a mom thinking about homeschooling, like talk to your husband. Like you don't want to do this on your own.
Yeah.
It really is like a family call, and you want to be on the same page. You want God to be leading you there, and then you and your husband on the same page. Um, you don't have to get your kids' agreement. You're
Yeah.
the parents, but you and your husband on the same page, and then you go into it together in whatever role your husband may or may not play.
Mhm.
As long as he's supporting you
Yeah.
and praying for you,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
that's huge
Mm.
too. So
That's good. Thank you
yeah,
for that. Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't want us to
good
leave that
question.
out.
Yeah,
That was all right.
yeah,
Yeah, if you'd pray.
yes, I'd
Yeah.
love to.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much just for this time, this conversation. And I just pray for every mom out there listening, getting ready to send their kids back to school in whatever capacity they're sending them.
Mhm.
God, I just pray that you would give them peace as they work to get all the back to school things around and get ready. God, I pray you give them peace in the decisions as to where they're sending their kid, and whether it's a traditional school or a homeschooling venture for the first time, whatever it is. God, I just pray you lead and guide and direct them with your peace. And God, I just pray that you would give all the kids a good school year as they get ready to start, that you would just give us wisdom as moms and as parents
Mm.
um, to just equip them with what they need to love others well, to love you well, Lord, and let us not forget the main goal of just focusing on you and focusing on like the character of our kids and how important that is. And we just thank you so much. We love
Mhm.
you in Jesus' name, Amen.
Amen. Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, it
I
was.
loved that.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Make sure that you check us out. We have a ton of other great podcasts to listen to, and we'll see you next time.